Get your hands on a new or used FDM printer and you're not really sure which tubing to use for your feed line? Stick around on today's episode where we look at Sovol's Bowden 3D PTFE tubing for FDM printers. Stick around.
So what is Bowden tubing? Bowden tubing is basically the guide tube that goes from your filament to your extruder, and the filament's going to travel along this. Bowden's important because you're going to get, I'd call it a substandard PTFE tubing with your Ender 3s, and that's kind of the stuff right here. It's going to be white, 1.75 or 3 millimeters. The ones that comes on the printer is going to be the 1.75, but it's not really good. There's a lot of wiggle room in these tubes, and it allows for blockages, breakages to occur, a lot of issues, and you won't get as fine print quality because that filament's not coming out as an even flow. What I purchased and what Sovol asked me to review was the Sovol 3D Bowden PTFE tubing. Comes in 1 meter increments. It's about $7. I like this tubing a lot. It comes with your tubing, the cutter, and then your fittings. The tubing's nice because it's not actually solid blue like a lot of the Capricorn tubing is. This is a clear blue, so you're able to see your lines go in. The melting point's about 327 to 330 degrees Celsius, so very high temperature resistance, which is very, very nice. If you're printing anything like PLA or ABS or PT or PETG, you're not going to have any issues, especially even with like PLA Plus. That's all going to be a lower temperature, so you're not going to run into melting your PTFE Bowden tubing. This is what you get out of the bag. So like I said, your cutter, your connectors for both sides, and the actual tubing itself. One thing to note, it doesn't come with the clips that you would put in there to make sure the line doesn't move, but you can either print those or purchase them separately. It's not a big deal. I've printed a few and they did pretty well. But this is the tubing. Like you can see, it is clear, so you can actually tell when your line's going in there, which is super nice without having to buy like the high-tech, filament guide to know, oh, my filament ran out, the print's going to stop. So this is printing on the old blue Capricorn tubing, and it appeared to be doing a good job. But as we got on later, the nozzle was completely clogged. It wasn't putting stuff out at all, and I'd been noticing a lot of clogs on my Ender 3. You can see at a 0.2 layer, it wasn't doing well at all. Really shoddy, just it didn't adhere. Ended up coming out more of like a hair-like consistency than an actual piece that it was supposed to be. And you can see it just flakes off. There's no adhesion whatsoever. So failed print, that happens. You do what you got to do. Lots of spaghetti everywhere, so that was a fun cleanup. But after getting everything swapped out and removed, I saw that I actually couldn't pull the filament out of the tube. It had melted inside the tube and had to cut the Capricorn tubing off. Here's a better view of it where you can see it's pretty much fused with the tubing itself. And yeah, couldn't do anything with this. This is kind of the quality I was getting before I swapped out the tubing. Decent. I used purple silk, but here's the Ender 3 with the new tubing on it. Significantly easier to tell if my filament's actually inside of there. I did have to swap out my fan because that last clog ended up melting the fan I had on there, so I had to swap that fan out, and you'll see on the next video of this. So here's with the new fan, but you can see in the tubing I was using a white filament from Hatchbox. Clearly visible. You can actually tell, yep, I've got filament inside there. It's feeding. There's no issues. So that was super nice to have, just to be able to know that I actually have filament going in. As far as print comparisons, this is the first print, and this will be from my Ender 3 Pro. I put the tubing on there as well. And this is in PLA Plus, Capricorn tubing. Looks pretty good. Good layer lines, not too much. Here's the copy, I guess, with the Sovol tubing. Very similar. Honestly, I didn't notice a lot of differences as far as print quality. I think Sovol and Capricorn are very competitive as far as what they're able to produce quality wise. I did a scatter dice for blood fields, and there was no zits, no blips on the dice at all. The layer lines were small in comparison to what I was printing out, which was the 0.2, and just overall good quality. So should you buy this tubing? I think so. $7 is very competitive. Sovol did a good job making it the print quality very comparative to the Capricorn tubing. I noticed very little difference between the two. So if you're already getting good prints with Capricorn, you're not going to get any worse prints with this. The cutter was a huge, nice addition. I liked the two sets of fittings and the tubing itself. Being transparent, it makes it a lot easier to see where your filament's at and if there's any blockages or broken filament inside your tubing, so you can diagnose your issues a lot faster.
If you liked the video and found it helpful, go ahead and give it a thumbs up or subscribe to the channel where I upload videos every couple weeks related to 3D printing, miniature painting, and board game reviews and playthroughs. As far as Sovol's product, if you purchased it as a result of this video, go ahead and leave a comment below and let others know what you thought. I've included a link in the description below. As far as everything else goes, I'm Addy with Addy 3D Prints, Plays, and Paints. Keep printing. Addy out.